find your lack of faith disturbing.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever the case may be. Welcome to Cross Examinations. I'm your host, Mike S. Miller, 20-something, 24, 25-year Christian, born again believer in the Bible. I am not a pastor. I am not a priest. I am not a teacher. I am a father of five, a reader of the word, a drawer of comic books, which, that doesn't really help me as far as being a someone who knows a lot about the Bible. But weirdly, I do. Does the dashboard? Oh, did I forget to change the title? I forgot to change the title. Dang it. John Good News Day 27. XE Live. Well, maybe that'll get more people in here. I have to change it on YouTube too. Sorry, hold on. Please give my boomerificness a moment as I figure this out. Oh, brother. Transcriptions, other features, live events. Yeah, I just changed all. When you change it on Restream, it doesn't change it on YouTube. So I have to go in and actually edit it on YouTube, which, yay, fun for me. All right, this is John's Good News Day 27 XE Live. Yay. Bible, faith, truth, Jesus, John. That's good enough for government work. All right, let's go to the live control room so I can read y'all's chats. Chickadee chats. All right, peak concurrent 15 viewers. Oh, but shoot, if I don't, I need to watch it on the actual page so I can like and share. Hope everyone's having a wonderful day. Didn't get a notification when it went live, says Praetorian. Don't know what to tell you, Pray. I don't know what to tell you, but hit that like, hit that share, and let's get some peeps in here. And again, ladies and gentlemen, no one can spread the good word of, well, the Bible, obviously, but anything that you like, just putting it out on Twitter or whatever is one thing, but actually telling people about it and suggesting that they give it a watch, I think that's the most effective way to build this show up. I do a whole bunch of different shows on my channel, but this is the most important one. This and God Squad together, I consider them all one show. It's just God Squad. It's me and friends. But this is what matters. So please do share this, not just on social media, which I do appreciate, but also, for the sake of building up this little group we've got here. Mr. Reborn asks, why'd you ask about Joker yesterday? You looking for people to talk about it? I was, Mr. Reborn. I was. And what I ended up with, I called an old acquaintance of mine, Marcus Dunstan, sort of out of the blue. He didn't answer the phone, but he called me back, and we got to talking, and I asked him if he'd seen the Joker, and he just went on and on about it. And I'm like, oh, bruh, you got to get on my show. Marcus Dunstan, writer, director of horror movies. So I thought, wow, what a perfect guy to have for a discussion on Joker. So we had him, we had Jack Posobiec and Quarter Black Garrett, and it was a great episode of Nerds of the Round Table. So if you haven't seen that yet, bookmark it, share it out, check it out. It was fantastic. Adam says, pray for Canada, Mike. We voted people kind back in with a near majority government. We voted people kind back in. Adam, I know you're speaking Canadian, but can you try to speak English? Because I don't know what we voted people kind back in it means. Having a people kind is Trudeau. Oh, I'm sorry. People kind, is that what you call him in Canada? People kind is that's weird. People kind. Oh, people kind, not mankind. I got it. Sorry, I don't pay. I pay very little attention to Canada in any way, shape, or form. And I really don't want to pay attention to your freaking wackadoo PM. Wait, is it Prime Minister? Or is it, I don't know, is he President? I don't even know. I don't pay attention to your politics either. I just know you don't have freedom of speech, so I don't go there. Good afternoon, people kind, not mankind. See, you were speaking Canadian. All the Canadians in the chat are like, we know what he's talking about. He's people kind. Yes, Prime Minister. The Queen is their head of state. Oh. Still bowing to the old lady across the pond, are you, Canada? We got rid of him. We got rid of that. Awful Redneck says, Crowder just did a live special. He dropped a bomb on you. What? Awful Redneck, what are you talking about? I know you deleted it, but what were you talking about? No, I want to know. Dropped a bomb on YouTube. Oh. YouTube's electoral meddling. Election meddling. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I wanted to get in here and do this first thing. I kind of prepped up. Sorry, I might start the actual Bible study a tad bit late. Again, we are going through John's Good News. We are on day 27. And we will be reading John 11:38 through 57 and going through this devotional. However, I did want to point out a few things. One, this is just kind of crazy. So let me share it. And you know, we can just talk through it because there's no, it's just kind of phenomenal to me. Dang it, why is that full screening? Oh well, I'll just full screen it. This craziness, because this looks like a big budget, you know, movie. What do you call it? Movie. What in the hell? JoJo's here. Gosh darn it, nobody's awake. Hold on, I'll be back. You watch Hong Kong burn. What? No mic and war on the streets. Yeah. So this is Hong Kong right now. Lovely, lovely. Yeah, I didn't share audio, but it doesn't really matter. The Chi-Coms are going to track him down. Whew, sorry. And we're going to be... This is what will be what happens if Democrats get control. Yeah, oddly, the guys in the uniforms here side more with Antifa. Right? They're the communists. This is what it looks like when Antifa is in control. It's funny, huh? It does look like a movie, doesn't it? Was John Jesus's brother? No, he was not. Hey, was Crowder taken off air or did the show finish? I don't know. Also, Mike, similar scenes are now happening in Catalan in Spain again. Oh, man. This looks like Athens 4 years ago. I know, what's going on? The world is burning. The world is burning. Crowder gave everyone permission to pirate his live stream. He asked for everyone to spread it as far as they can. Ah, shoot. I would have pirated it. Maybe Garrett will have a copy of it I can share. Isn't it crazy? It looks like an anime come to life, right? And it's the communists, the Chi-Coms, as Limbaugh calls them, the Chi-Coms against the free peoples of Hong Kong. And everybody has gas masks, except for those two young ladies over there in the corner who are being, arrested, assaulted? Look at these police, man. They look like they're just regular people with vests on. It's like nobody bothered with... This guy's got the uniform. These guys got the uniforms, but then they got a whole bunch of people just in t-shirts. It's like they put an ad in Craigslist for people to join the stormtroopers. I'm just glad they're not using real bullets. You know? The rulers versus the ruled. Yeah. Well, it's not really class warfare. It's ideology warfare. Hong Kong used to be the freest free market on the planet. That's why it looks like that. That's why you've got these shining concrete and steel buildings based on the free market, based on capitalism, bringing people out of poverty by the millions. And then you've got the communists rolling in who want to control it because that's what communists do. You're implying that the thugs, the Chi-Coms, drove from Shenzhen across the borders of our Hong Kong cops? Are these Hong Kong cops? I thought these were the bastards people shooting people point blank in the chest. You know what? I don't even know. At this point, I don't know if these guys are just doing the job because they're the government and therefore they have to do what they're being told to do. Just following orders. We were just following the orders. They said to put them in the gas chambers. We put them in the gas chambers. Right? But the government is... I'm trying to remember how this all went down. I think the English pulled out early of their... They were supposed to have like a 50-year... Was it a 50-year moratorium on China sort of retaking absolute control? Because, it used to be a British colony. And And then there was supposed to be, after the English gave up, part of the deal with the English giving it up was that there was supposed to be a 50-year moratorium on China having any control over Hong Kong. But recently China decided 50 years is too long. So that's 99 year. Was it 99 years? And then China 100 years, Hang Solo says. And then China's like, well, how about no? Something like that. I don't know. I'll have to go in. I know a limited amount about this, so I probably shouldn't talk about it. I just freaking hate it, Someone's going to take that clip and take it out of context. What clip? And you know what? People can take stuff out of context anyways. That's what douchebags do. And if you do that, you're a douchebag. So, Andy Hayes, I'm saying somebody's saying it's a 100-year deal. 100 years, computer says no. All right, I don't have time to do that whole thing. All right, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do some research on that, and then let's maybe do a whole show on it, right? But right now, I wanted to move on to something else that I find horrible. All right, so on Twitter, Matt Walsh. I can't get over this case in Texas. A mother decided that her 7-year-old boy is really a girl because he liked the movie Frozen. The husband insisted that he's a boy. Courts got involved. Jury just ruled that, yes, the boy is a girl, and he will now be transitioned into when he's 7 years old. I don't think people realize just how monumental this case is. We've just crossed a threshold as a society. There's no going back. These are very dark times, most of all for that poor boy, whose mother is a despicable monster. Oh, and the icing on the cake. The demented lunatic of a mother isn't actually the mother. The child was conceived with donor eggs. She's not even biologically related to the kid. Asking Ted Cruz and Greg Abbott, is there anything you guys can do for this boy? He's going to be permanently mutilated and physically destroyed if someone doesn't step in. Listened to an interview with the father. He says the mother used to lock the boy in his room and tell him there's a monster who only eats little boys. At 3, she started dressing him like a girl, would withhold affection if he wasn't dressed like a girl. This woman is pure evil. Here's the interview. It's astounding. I don't think I want to get into the interview right now. There's no trending hashtag about this case. There should be. Let's get one going. The boy's name is James Younger. Let's go with hashtag protect James Younger. Then he asked Donald Trump, could you get everyone talking about this travesty of justice? One tweet is all we need, Mr. President. Donald Trump Jr., can we get your help trending this? All right, I'm gonna share this one. But yeah, if everyone could go to my page, I guess. Oh my gosh, retweet with comment, please. Wait, what was the hashtag? Hold on. Let me grab that hashtag again. Copy. I know I could have just typed it. Whoa, what the heck? What the heck just happened? That was weird. Trying to retweet with comment. There we go. All right, retweet. Please go to my Twitter at AbacusMike and retweet that. It is ridiculous. Ridiculous. The levels. I can't believe a jury sided with this freaking psycho. Talk about, this woman should be in jail. Seriously. Matt Walsh, really? We, us, our. Why are you doing that? All right. So let's get on over. It is 20 minutes in. As I said, we're going to start a little bit late. I just had those couple things to put And let me see. How monstrous, even so, they can never change the chromosomes. No, but they can take away his ability to procreate and have a happy life. Absolutely. Cycle. Yes, P Money, this is cross examinations. Yeah, so refresh, share this out with the new John's Good News Day 27 cross examinations live tag. Like, share, join the channel if you want. But let's get on to this. In Texas, nonetheless. I know, pray. In Texas. All right. So this is John 11, 38 to 57. Let's get to it. Jesus, therefore, again, groaning and setting the scene. Lazarus is dead. Jesus is at the Shiva, not the Shiva. It's like a time of mourning, sort of like a wake in Jewish custom. And he is called Mary and Martha, I believe, out to see him. Blessed the like button. Thank you, Dorian Long. Jesus, therefore, again, here, let me turn this off. Squirrel. P Money, XE equals cross examination. That is correct. That's right. All right. Jesus, therefore, again, groaning in himself, cometh to the grave. It was a cave, and a stone lay upon it. Jesus said, Take ye away the stone. Martha, the sister of him that was dead, saith unto him, Lord, by this time he stinketh, for he hath been dead 4 days. Jesus saith unto her, Said I not unto thee, that if thou wouldest believe, thou shouldest see the glory of God? Mr. Hellstorm, switch to Twitch. That way someone is here in the chat. Thank you. What an interesting response. So it's not like she doesn't, she probably thinks he can raise him from the dead, but she thinks maybe it's too late to raise him from the dead because his body is corrupting. His body stinketh because he's degrading. What's the word? Blanking on the word. Anyways, but yeah, it's not impossible to raise someone from the dead before their body starts discorporating, decaying. Thank you, Dungeon Walker. But he's God. If he can raise someone from the dead, he can raise someone from the dead whose body's decaying. So yeah, I wonder if the stink all went away the moment he was zombie. That's the thing, hey. Bodies decay very quickly. That's why The Walking Dead makes no sense, because all of those zombies would be flesh soup by this, like a month into their death. Jesus said unto her, Said I not unto thee that if thou wouldest believe, thou shouldest see the glory of God? Then they took away the stone from the place where the dead was laid. And Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me. And I know that thou hearest me always. But because of the people which stand by, I said it, that they may believe that thou hast sent me. So if anyone ever asks you, does God hear silent prayer? This is a pretty good indication, right? Because he always hears Jesus' prayer, but he's right now saying it out loud. He's already said the prayer, resurrect Lazarus, right? He's already in the will of the Father. He's already said the prayer, but he hasn't said it out loud but for the benefit of those around, so that they know that it is by the power and the will of God acting through his Messiah, his son, he's asking out loud. So God hears your thoughts. If that's ever been a question, then guard your thoughts. And when he had thus spoken, he cried out with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. Now, very important, very important. He named Lazarus because with the power of God, the power of the resurrection, if he had just said, come forth to anyone that was in the grave, you could have had everyone coming out. He that was dead came forth, bound hand and foot with grave clothes, and his face was bound about with a napkin. That's the same way Jesus was described being buried. Jesus saith unto them, loose him, and let him go. Then many of the Jews which came to Mary, and had seen the things which Jesus did, believed on him. So they'd already seen all these other miracles Jesus did. But it took him resurrecting someone from the dead for them to believe on him, to believe that he was the Christ. Interesting, isn't it? I don't know. That's something to think about. How much evidence do you need, right? For me, the evidence that the Bible was written from outside of time was enough evidence to convince me that it was written by God. Wow, what is going on here? Quality. My quality is garbage. Yo, Josh Graydon. Okay, there we go. Oh, no. Oh, not you. I said Lazarus. This is so Monty Python. Ishmael, get back in there. No. What's the difference between Jesus raising the dead and a necromancer? There's no such thing as a necromancer. How about that? You don't have to go to Apocrypha. Jesus raised more from the dead in the Gospels. Wait, who's talking about the Apocrypha? To be fair, Jesus had brought others back from the dead, if you believe the Apocrypha. Yeah, he brought more people back in the Gospels. It wasn't just Lazarus. But I just think it's... I mean, he brought people back from the dead who had just died, who were sick unto death, all this kind of stuff. But Lazarus was beyond the stages of corruption. So he was dead, buried, mourned, decaying, and then resurrected. He wasn't like dead for an hour, dead for a day. He was turning into flesh soup already, and Jesus brought him back from the dead. So yeah, I mean, dead is dead, but he's only mostly dead. No, Lazarus was dead and decaying. That is the point of Mary saying, he stinks. It's been 4 days. So I think it took that level of resurrection, not someone who's just saying, well, maybe they just thought she was dead. Talitha Kumai, rise, young woman who was dead. Maybe it took that level of resurrection. I guess you can have the extreme skeptics that are still sitting there saying, well, maybe she was just mostly dead, right? But if you're decaying, you're dead. Ain't nobody arguing that after 4 days in the crypt, Lazarus was still just mostly dead. All right. Yes. I don't even remember where we were. That 45. All right, 46. But some of them went their ways to the Pharisees and told them what things Jesus had done. Some of them went to rat out Jesus to the Pharisees. Now that's the perspective I was hearing at church. What if some of these guys were earnest and trying to convince the Pharisees, like, dude, guys, this is Messiah, right? He's risen a rotting corpse from the dead, and he's walking amongst us. Never has this been done in the history of mankind, where you resurrect a rotting corpse, right? And again, all of those other ones, I'm sure the Pharisees, when they heard those reports, they're like, oh, she was probably just mostly dead, you know. Gosh, maybe that's where they got it for Princess Bride. But this they could not deny. Then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees a council and said, what do we do? For this man doeth many miracles. This man doeth many miracles. They cannot deny that Jesus is a miracle worker, and all of his miracles are for the good and the blessings of others. This is a man of God. They cannot deny it at this point. If we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him. Well, no, we know that's not the case. And the Romans shall come and take away both our place and nation. Now, in church, I heard that the place they're talking about, the temple in the nation. But I really think the Pharisees were talking about their status, because the Pharisees did rule, right? They ruled the Jews. And if the Romans came in, because this guy is king of the Jews, right? This guy is the true Messiah. I think they were more concerned with their place in the world, their place in status and in authority, than they were with, bowing before the God of their fathers. And one of them, named Caiaphas, being the high priest that same year, said unto them, ye know nothing at all, nor consider that it is expedient for us, that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perish not. And this spake he not of himself, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus should die for the nation. So this is another thing. I'm just repeating something that was said at church that but I think it is accurate. I just haven't gone back and recalled that information for myself. That the high priests were, I mean, since the founding of the priesthood, the high priests were like supposed to be closest to God, right? And so possibly be able to have God speak through them, not so much as prophets, but still prophetically. I'd have to go back and do some more research, but that was something that was brought up at church, which I found interesting. And not for that nation only, but that also he should gather together in one the children of God that were scattered abroad. Then from that day forth they took counsel together for to put him to death. It seems like they've been trying to kill him this entire time. But now that it is absolutely unquestionable that this is the Messiah, they want to make sure they put him to death. A third of the angels fell. A third of the angels, people are just, how can you do that? How can you see all the prophecy, you see this, this is the Son of God, this is Messiah, this is God incarnate, and you want to put him to death. A third of the angels walked with God, talked with God, watched the creation of the universe with God. And a third of them turned their backs on God, absolutely knowing the truth, and followed Satan into perdition. So, some people you just ain't gonna save. That's not to say you don't try. That's not to say you don't, pray for everyone. But after 1,000 years of Christ on earth, Christ, God, reigning from Jerusalem through the millennium, after 1,000 years of people knowing with absolute fact that God is among us, a third of the people rebel against him at the end of the millennium. There's some people you just ain't never gonna save. A third of people are always gonna vote Democrat. You're never gonna get more than 70% of the vote. I'm not saying Democrats are Satanists. I'm just saying a third of the people are always going to refuse the truth. So you can't be too shocked that these people knew this was the Christ. The shocking part was that these were the people who were supposed to be the spiritual leaders of Israel. That's the shocking part. Jesus therefore walked no more openly among the Jews, but went thence unto a country near to the wilderness, into a city called Ephraim, and there continued with his disciples. And the Jews' Passover was nigh at hand, and many went out of the country up to Jerusalem before the Passover to purify themselves. Then sought they for Jesus, and spake among themselves as they stood in the temple, What think ye, that he will not come to the feast? Now both the chief priests and the Pharisees had given a commandment that, if any man knew where he were, he should show it, and they might take him. So they wanted to make sure he did not. This, I would speculate here, because they knew the appointed day and hour. I feel the Spirit on me, so I'm pretty sure that I'm accurate here. They knew the appointed day. I don't know about hour. That the prophecy in Daniel was for the Christ to enter Jerusalem, meek, riding on the colt, the foal of an ass. It was on a particular day, and that day had not yet come because it was the Passover. I think it was the Passover day, right? And so the Pharisees knew it. They had to know it. They knew the scriptures inside and out. They had to know it. And they were trying to cut him off at the pass, because if he made that triumphal entry, Gary Shipman bumps in with some scripture. But his citizens hated him and sent a message after him saying, We will not have this man to reign over us. I feel like we need context for that. Luke 19:14. All right, we are done with... shoot, we're not done. You know what? Don't sidetrack me, Gary. I still got to get through the devotional, but we'll come back to that. All right. If you have been in an argument with God, there is a good chance that one of your objections to his will has been, God, that just doesn't make sense. When Jesus asked them to roll the stone from the tomb, Martha objects in verse 39 about the potential smell. Jesus is about to raise her brother from the dead, and Martha is still concerned about the little things instead of the big picture. At times, we can be so focused on the small details that don't make sense that we can miss the overarching point that God is trying to show us. When the Lord works through us, the small view is, He's accomplishing this for me. But in verse 42, when Jesus says, I knew that you always hear me, but I said this on account of the people standing around, that they may believe that you sent me. That is clearly not the King James Version. Jesus didn't just save Lazarus that day, but caused many of those who saw his miracle to believe that he was truly the Son of God. Question: what are some areas in your life that you may feel like you're missing the forest for the trees? How can we see the bigger picture that God is trying to show us and not get stuck in the details? Well, I think that's kind of a day-by-day battle. We always get kind of tripped up on the problems of the day. The evil of the day is sufficient for the day, as the Bible says, and we kind of get caught up on that and miss that, every day is just a step in the journey of our lives, and where we end up is what's important, right? It's not the trips and falls and the lefts and turns that we take. It's the lefts and rights that we turn on. It's the end. It is the end. Do do do. And I think that's it's a good point to raise. Question 2: how did the people respond to Jesus' miracle? Why do you think that Jesus let the people see if he knew that some would go to the Pharisees and double cross him? And again, I'm not sure entirely if that was a double cross or if that was people earnestly saying, bruh, he raised up from that dead. I'm not sure I'm not sure the motivations are spelled out in the text. Unless I missed something, which is entirely possible. I often miss things. But I mean, come on. Jesus, he knew that all this stuff would happen. So he knew his time had come. Larry Romano says his time had come. His time was coming. That's right. So he had to set up the troll. He had to set up the people, right? He's playing chess here. He's moving pieces into place. He knows how they're going to react, well, because he's God. And so therefore he just kind of sets them up to react in the way that they would react. He could have done these things in secret. He could have done these things, but he could have made sure, he could have done anything. He's God. But it was all to a greater purpose. And the final purpose, it is finished. The salvation of mankind. So kind of important, I think. Josh Craden says, Mike, you're our prophet. You can't just miss things. Well, no. Hugo. What would you do if one of your kids becomes gay or lesbian? Would you disown them as a father? No. That wouldn't happen. Because I've been a good father. I don't really want to get into the whole thing, but if almost unanimously, every gay person I know, their father was either physically or emotionally absent or abusive. I have been none of those things. And if you're gay, or if you know gay people in your life, ask them what their relationship with their father was. And again, I've asked a lot, and that seems to be almost unanimous. So I'm not of the mind that I've been physically or emotionally absent or abusive. I'm here all the time. I'm emotionally here for my kids. Right? And he's playing video games. So I'm not worried about it. Thanks, Hugo, for asking. Yeah, he might be trolling. This is a silly one. You're born with foreskin. You cut it off. It's mutilation. You pierce your baby's ear without consent. It's mutilation. No, it's not. No, it's not. Kind of a silly question. Anyways, the prayer. We got 46 minutes left. Let's do the prayer, and then we'll get back to what Gary was saying. Maybe we can even bring Gary in if he has got time. Daily prayer. Jesus, help me to think of others, even when asking for things going on in my own life. Use me to influence others and show them your power and glory. Help me not to get caught up in the details, but truly see where you want me to be and how you want me to get there. Yeah, that is talk about daily prayer. That's a prayer you should pray every day. Amen. Anti-circumcision folks are legion. Yeah, you know why? Because we live in the 21st century. We live in the 21st century, and now we know that cleanliness is important. So people regularly bathe, right? There was a time in history where people did not regularly bathe, which was most of history, because clean water isn't always readily available to most people in most of history. I mean, unless you live right next to it, whatever. But it wasn't a regular thing. And so the thing about uncircumcised men is they have a little warm area folded. They have a little warm pocket of flesh where bacteria can multiply, grow, whatever. This little petri dish is then inserted into a warm, moist environment. And about 100 or so years ago, there was a doctor who noticed, wow, none of my Jewish patients, he was an OBGYN, and he noticed that none of my Jewish patients ever get cervical cancer. What is that about? Right? And so he noticed this, and then he came to a theory that it was because all their men were circumcised. And so it became, somehow or another, he convinced the medical world that, you know what, circumcision is actually a very wise procedure to undertake. And so he and the medical community somehow or another managed to get, I think, about 2/3 of the population, if I remember correctly, about 2/3 of the population for darn near a century would be circumcised as a health procedure. So, very good, right? But now we live in a time where bathing is so common that usually it disrupts the need for circumcision, because especially if you bathe like before you have intercourse, then that's a good way to avoid that particular health issue. So yeah, I mean, I don't need to talk about myself, but I'm part of the 2/3 and my mom was a Buddhist and my dad was an agnostic. It had nothing to do with anything religious. It was a health issue. It was just common practice. So oddly, it was a health benefit that no one understood until the 19th century or the 20th century. No one understood, I think, until the 20th century, that was put into practice 3,500 years ago in a desert in the Sinai Peninsula. Who knew? You know who knew? God knew. Thank you. Actually, not bathing was a medieval thing. In ancient times, people, especially in Southern Europe and Middle East, bathed regularly. People didn't even bathe regularly in America here until, plumbing became a thing. And I think that's the thing. That's probably what made people ultimately just cleaners is the advent of plumbing becoming almost unanimous. I feel like I overuse the word ubiquitous, but it is the only word that really works, right? I don't want to say universal. It's not universal. It's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. God knows all the things. Indeed, Everett Todd. God does actually know all the things. Hugo says the head of the penis must be protected with skin. It's a sensitive area, in my opinion. Oddly, if you remove the foreskin, it becomes less sensitive, which makes you able to withstand certain sensations that allow you to enjoy those sensations longer. I really don't want to get into this discussion. Really don't. So anyways, this is taking a weird turn for sure, but I'm headed out the door. So yeah, I'm going to end that part of the conversation. So let's move on to something else. Plumbing and circumcision. John T says, gross. I'm glad I didn't live back then. Everyone must have stank to high heaven. Well, my overarching point is about a child being altered against their will. Well, I mean, if it was a health issue for 100 years, and accurately so. That one, degeneracy. And it was medically beneficial. It was sexually beneficial. I don't consider it mutilation. It's not. You're not, if like female circumcision where you're actually cutting sensitive areas off. Yeah, I can see that as mutilation. But male mutilation, it's fairly. I don't understand people who choose not to bathe in the 21st century with the comfort of indoor plumbing. I know. I don't know why my kids don't bathe more regularly either. Do you consider vaccinations to be assault? No consent there either. Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. Joe K says, when the first delegation of Crusader appeared in the court of Emperor of Alexios, they really stunk. It was written in the Chronicles. Crowder just went live for a second time this afternoon. I wonder if he's actually live or if it's recorded. You know, most of his live shows are just recorded, right? I know this to be true because I know things. It's inflicting trauma on a baby, in my opinion. I'm trying to remember. I've had all 4 of my boys circumcised. I was there in the room for all of them, I think. And I mean, I don't even remember them crying. So, yeah, I don't think they even cried. It's very interesting. I mean, if you've ever seen it, um, they pull up the foreskin in a little steel thing, and it like squeezes the foreskin into it, and it's got no nerves in it, right? So they yeah, my kids, I don't remember any of them crying during their circumcision. And then they just take it while that's there, then they just run a razor across the top of that thing, and it just takes it off. So it's, yeah, if they didn't even cry, I can't imagine that it's traumatic at all. Hasn't it been proven that circumcision affects the brain? I have not seen that at all. Babies don't remember. Well, my point, Hugo, is the babies didn't even cry. So I imagine if you're in the desert and you've got a, like, whatever knife, it's probably a little bit more traumatic. But the way they do it in a modern context, it's not traumatic at all. More traumatic to get shots. Babies cry when you give them shots. All right, I kind of don't want to talk about this, but you guys keep talking about it. How's everyone's day going? Come on, I've got 2.5 more minutes here. Joe K says, "Oh God, stop! I want to stop, Joe. I do. Make it end." All right. Brother. Circumcision is for germ control, even though we have soap these days. Only other reason is sexual pleasure for the female. Which, hey, I'm good with that. I got no complaints. I'm not going to even discuss that. Gosh, this going well. Any more Lone Star progress? Yeah, I cannot wait. This page, which you guys cannot see, is the most powerful page. I cannot wait to finish this page. Cannot wait. Stop this madness. This is madness. This is cross-examinations. I know. Good thing Micah got his ears covered. That's Isaac. You don't know which one of my kids is which yet? Heck, I don't even know. When I get like Micah, Isaac, Jojo, Elijah. I always like call out random names when I'm trying to talk to one of my kids. DJ says, I was in the other room while you were talking about circumcision. Mike, could you recap everything that was said? Give them numbers. Give them numbers. That's probably not a bad idea. Number 1. Captain Heltz, were you by chance able to open my D&Q video? Gosh, I totally forgot about it, Captain Heltz. Did you send it to me on Twitter? Let me check. I've just been so busy. I have busy. I don't see it, Heltz. Where did you send it to me again? Remind me. Like and share. This is a classic. Hikaru says, I don't know who Eden is for certain. I think I know which one is Elijah. DJ Peter says, please don't. It was a joke. I know. Elijah is the tall one. Elijah is, he's 18 years old. You know what's funny? He comes in here. He comes in the other day after I'd said something. He's like, because he was mad. He actually back talked me for the first time in like whatever, and I'm like, dude, what the heck? Elijah doesn't back talk. And he was apologizing for it. And he's like, so I don't like that you still treat me like I'm a kid. I'm like, dude, you are still a kid. Well, you're 18 years old. That's just a number. You're not an adult until you can take care of yourself. I said there are two stages in growing. You become an adult when you can start taking care of yourself, but you really become a grown-up when you have to start taking care of someone else. And so until you are taking care of yourself, I'm going to treat you like a kid because you're a kid. Unfortunately, in this world, we have 35-year-old kids. But he'll get there. He's got a job. He's saving up some money. He's doing some work for me. So yeah. Oh, and somehow I overshot by 2 minutes. How did I go from being 2 minutes under to 2 minutes over without even noticing? Anyways, thanks everybody. Oh, start a hashtag for Friday night auction. That is a good idea. I think we already had one, but I don't know. Edwin asked to send it to your Abacus Comic email. Oh, okay. I'll check that out if I remember. If not, keep reminding me. Anyways, thank you everyone. Be here later. I don't know what I'm streaming later today. I just want to finish that page. I'm just like champing at the bit to get on this page. So I'll probably just watch some other stuff and do all that stuff. Anyways, like, share, subscribe, guys. Please, if you haven't already, get on over to LoneStarComic.com. The link is in the description, I believe, LoneStarComic.com. And if you support our troops, grab something for the troops. Right? Get that support the troops tier. I would really, really appreciate it. And at any rate, love you all. Thank you all. And God bless you all.